Are you looking to get on the road to your dream career? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Mentor Select Podcast with your host, Derrich Phillips. Always stay up to date on social media at Mentor Select and online at mentorselect.com. Here's your host of the Mentor Select Podcast, Derrich Phillips.
Welcome to episode 75 of the Mentor Select Podcast, and Happy New Year 2020. We made it. It's a lot to be grateful for, making it to a new decade. I hope that you brought in the new year with your family and friends and reflected on everything that you're grateful for, everything that you accomplished in 2019. I brought in the new year at home with my beautiful wife and daughter. It was just a really great experience. We baked cookies, ate barbecue. Also, we created a vision board for our goals for 2020. That was a great way to bring in the new year. Previous years, we turned up, we partied out in the clubs or at friends' houses, but it was great to bring it in with my family and focus on what's most important for me and my family. Just can't believe it's been 75 episodes already. If you've been with me since the beginning, we started back in August 2018, where I just wanted to share my story and highlight other people's story. And now we're 75 episodes down the road. That is really incredible, and it's quite fitting that on New Year's, we reached a 75 episodes milestone. That is truly remarkable. I couldn't have done it without you and without the remarkable guest mentors that we've had over the course of the show. Just to recap some of the highlights from 2019, we've had over 60 guest mentors so far come on and share their story of how they got to the point where they are today, where they're living their life's purpose, following their passions, and really making a difference in the world through their careers. If you haven't had an opportunity to listen to all the episodes, hey, that's the good thing about podcasts. They're on demand. You can always go back and listen and really gain that career guidance and inspiration that our guest mentors provided. As of today, we have over 6,500 downloads. That is so amazing. I remember when we first celebrated the 1,000 downloads milestone. Now we're over 6,500 and it's continuing to climb. Just the momentum is building. Word is getting out that the Mentor Select Podcast is something positive and something of value to the listeners. So I really appreciate you all sharing it and just talking about the Mentor Select Podcast with your friends and family. That's helping to build that momentum and increasing the popularity, making sure that those who need that virtual mentorship have access to it, no matter where they are, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, race, anything, they have access to just the value that Mentor Select Podcast offers. Some other milestones that we accomplished in 2019, the personal one for me was becoming a father. Certainly the biggest milestone for me in 2019. Our daughter was born in June 2019. She has changed our lives for the better. Absolutely. It's just a phenomenal experience being parents. I love being a dad. I loved being a husband, so being a dad just maximizes that entire experience. I can't think of anything I enjoy more than coming home to my beautiful girls. And it's ironic because I remember back in my 20s where I was thinking, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I just want to live the single bachelor life forever and travel around the world and just party, have fun. But hey, things change. I met my soulmate and we started a family, and hey, the rest is history. So I'm just riding that wave, loving every moment, and just trying to be the best dad and husband that I can be. Another major milestone for me was on the physical side. I decided to run a marathon. I made that decision back in January of last year, actually on New Year's. And I started training January 2nd, 2019 to run a marathon. I wanted that to commemorate becoming a father, knowing that, hey, I have to go the distance, being a father, being a husband. So I decided, hey, 26 miles would represent the journey that I'm going to go on. And I accomplished that in February of 2019, ran the Cowtown Marathon in Fort Worth. That was the hardest thing I ever done physically and mentally, but the biggest part is mental. When you're pushing yourself beyond your limits, outside of your comfort zone, it's a mental game. And by mile 20, I had nothing left, but I knew no matter what, I had to cross that finish line. I had dedicated that race to my daughter. She wasn't even born yet, but Daddy couldn't fail. Also, I knew that the first gift that I wanted to give my daughter once she was born is the finisher medal, something that was symbolic and that she could always look to as a representation of how hard Daddy worked and how hard Daddy loves her, even before she was born. Obviously, quitting was not an option. And that's the biggest thing that experience taught me is once your goals are aligned with just a purpose that's so important to you, you have that big why, then you're not going to quit. You're not going to give up, even when you have nothing left, even when you're just completely depleted. You're going to find the strength to keep going. And that applies to all areas of your life. So that was a huge learning experience for me. And me being the adventurous person that I am, I decided, hey, now that I ran a marathon, why not run an ultra marathon, which is 31.1 miles, go even further. So I did that last month at the BMW Dallas Marathon. That was a great experience. I didn't train properly for it because I had surgery on my finger prior in November. But hey, I knew that I set the goal, so I was going to accomplish it. And I did accomplish that goal. It was even harder than the marathon because, as I mentioned, I didn't train properly. But I knew mentally I had what it takes to cross the finish line. And by mile 10, I was exhausted. Back was hurting, feet were hurting, everything was hurting. And that's not a good sign. You still have 20 plus miles to go, 1/3 of the way. But as I mentioned, mentally, I was ready. I knew that no matter what, I was going to cross that finish line, no matter how long it took. And it took quite a while. I think it took me a little less than 7 hours. So that's a long time to be exercising. So obviously my time was nothing impressive, but I finished. That's what matters. I was running my race. I wasn't racing against anyone else. And that's the valuable lesson I learned from that experience is you have to run your race. You can't be concerned with what other people are doing. Hey, you have to stay in your lane. Keep focused on what your goals are. Don't get distracted by what other people are doing. So that's what I did. I was in my own zone. My phone was dead. So it was just me and my thoughts just out there. Walking, running, just focus on getting to the finish line. So that's what I encourage you to do. Whatever goals you set, it's easy to get distracted and compare yourself to other people and focus on other people's lanes, but don't do that. Focus on your lane, focus on your goals, and that way you'll accomplish them. Sooner or later, you will cross your finish line. Last but not least, I can't forget about my book that I published, Poverty Powerball. A major milestone that it accomplished was first being an Amazon bestseller. Also, as of last week, reaching 51 5-star reviews on Amazon. So a double milestone in that area. I'm really proud of my first book. It's helped so many people. It really is a great book. I'm not just saying that because I'm the author. It's a great depiction of how you can overcome anything. No matter where you start, it doesn't matter. It matters where you finish. So certainly if you haven't had opportunity to read that book, check it out. It's available on Amazon and also available on Audible. So if you want the Kindle version, audio version, or you want the physical version, I have it for you. As you see, 2019 was an action-packed year for Mentor Select. For me, I'm just going to imagine what's in store for 2020. I'm so excited for the continual growth mentally, physically, and spiritually. Now, since this is a new year, I have a new word for 2020, which is focus. So for 2020, I'm all about focusing on what's most important. For 2019, my word was empowerment, just sharing my gifts with the world. But for 2020, I have to put the first things first. Do what's most important for me, my family, for Mentor Select, and making sure that my actions align with my purpose, with my overall mission in life. And that is to inspire and empower others by sharing my story and my experiences, my expertise, any way that I can help others. That is my purpose in life. That's what gives me energy, keeps me fueled, excited, wakes me up every morning with a smile on my face, ready to conquer the world. So on that note, I have a big announcement for the Mentor Select family. In the spirit of being focused, I will be refocusing the Mentor Select podcast. Up to this point, we have focused on career development, but starting next week, the very next episode, we'll be focusing on parenting teens to be successful adults. Yes, you heard correct. The Mentor Select podcast will solely focus on equipping parents with the strategies and resources they need to effectively prepare their teenagers to make a smooth transition into adulthood. And that requires them to be well-rounded, not only academically, but socially and emotionally. So each episode, I'll be interviewing leading experts who are currently working with teenagers and have influence on their social and emotional development. They're going to be sharing their best practices, resources, and most importantly, their lessons learned from being on the front lines with teenagers. The experts will be fully transparent, sharing the ups, downs, highs, lows, good, bad, and ugly. Each episode, the experts are going to share just practical strategies that parents can implement, whether you are a biological parent, a mentor, an educator, or a coach, anyone who has influence over a youth's social and emotional development, then these are the people who are going to benefit most from listening to the Mentor Select podcast starting next week. So you may be wondering, why am I shifting the focus of the podcast? And the reason is because I'm very passionate about working with teenagers and preparing them to be successful in all areas of their lives, and realizing that it's only so much that teachers can do in the classroom. They're focused on teaching them the academic side of being successful, but there's a lot more that goes into being a well-rounded, successful adult. And I want to focus on that emotional and social development, because that's where a lot of teenagers struggle the most. And this is the critical time in their lives where they can end up going down the wrong path, and it can have a negative impact on the rest of their life. So in addition to me working directly with teenagers through mentorship, through my books, online courses, presentations, I want to also equip and empower the parents with the best parenting practices, strategies, skills, resources that they need to help their teens make that transition successfully and not make those bad decisions that's going to impact their lives forever. I've had so many parents reach out to me just frustrated with their teenagers, not understanding them, feeling like their teenagers are rebelling against all authority and just really making bad decisions. And often those parents will be desperate at their wits' end. They will reach out to me, Derrich, please talk to my son, my daughter, help them get on the right track, give them some guidance. Now, I'm proud to say that throughout my life, I've mentored, coached, influenced thousands of teenagers. But what I have to explain to parents is it's not just a straightforward process where some outsider comes in and saves the day. It really starts at home. It really starts with the parents. They have overall the most influence over their teenagers, and they just may not know which direction to go. They may not know how to leverage their influence. So that's where a resource like the Mentor Select podcast is going to come in, where every week, between sharing my expertise, we're also going to be interviewing leading experts who work with teens day in and day out, so they know what's working, what's not working, and parents can use that resource to effectively guide their teens in the right direction. I really want to get back to that belief that it takes a community to raise a child. It truly does. And it's not just the educators, not just the parents, it's people part of the community, experts, just really collaborating and coming together for that shared goal. We all want teenagers to be successful because they're our future. They're the future leaders. So clearly it's in all of our best interest to give them every opportunity to be successful. I first realized that I wanted to focus on serving parents and teenagers a little over a year ago while volunteering for the Prison Entrepreneurship Program, which is a nonprofit organization that brings in business executives and entrepreneurs into the prison to teach the inmates the foundational entrepreneurship skills that they would need to start their own businesses upon their release. So the overall goal of the program is to prepare these men and women to be law-abiding, tax-paying citizens with the hope that they won't return to prison. And the Prison Entrepreneurship Program has been very successful at doing that. Many of the graduates of the program actually get out and start successful businesses. Now, I'll be honest, my first time going into the prison, I was terrified, to say the least, because I didn't know what to expect. All I thought about was the prison movies and prison riots, all the stuff I saw on TV and in the movies. I figured that would happen once I got into the prison. So imagine walking into a room where it's over 200 inmates. They're all wearing white prison uniforms. But once I walked in, I hear music. I see the guys laughing and giving me high fives and talking to me and just sharing their stories and pitching their business ideas. It was truly a transformational experience because I realized that if these men who came in as hardened criminals had committed some of the most heinous crimes that you can imagine, were able to be rehabilitated through formalized programs that focused on not only academics, but their character building, their emotional development, their social development. It was in that moment that I had the epiphany that, wow, if this works in prisons, if this works on the men and women who society view as irredeemable, then of course this has to work for those who society has labeled as troubled teens, those individuals who the parents have given up on, educators have given up on, and just society views that this teen is destined for a life of poverty, a life of failure and crime. I know from firsthand experience being a troubled teen that it's never too late. All it takes is adults that care, adults that has the patience, compassion, the skills and resources to guide teenagers in the right direction and set them up for a life of success. So that is my inspiration behind changing the focus for Mentor Select podcast. That's my inspiration for the books, the online courses, all of the resources that I've been creating over the past year is to serve the parents, to help them serve and empower their teenagers to be successful adults. So I hope that you all continue with me on this exciting journey. 2020 is going to be mind-blowing. I'm going to bring you so much value each episode. And if you know any parents who are struggling with just parenting their teenagers, guiding them in the right direction, be sure to share this podcast with them. It's going to be all about serving those parents through my interviews with the leading experts so that the parents will be well equipped to empower their teens to be successful adults.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Mentor Select podcast, helping you identify and follow your passions. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit mentorselect.com and Mentor Select on social media. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review. We'll catch you next time.